For the very first new moon of the new year, we see that it will be in the pragmatic earth sign of Capricorn, setting the stage for more clarity around things like practical and structured steps that we can take in alignment with any new year intentions that we might have. And considering that this is a new moon, things like rest, reflection, and planning versus being in action are all themes that can definitely benefit us at this time. And with Mercury stationing direct at the start of this month, along with Mars playing a pretty beneficial role during this time, we're seeing that the planets are truly aligning in favor of practicality, organization, and planning for expansive and constructive intentions in the new year. Hello friends, it's Alina, and in this video we'll be diving into the 5 things you need to know all about this upcoming new moon happening at 20 degrees in the earth sign of Capricorn. As always, each lunation and astrological event will impact us differently. So I always sort of recommend for us to find out what house this new moon will be falling in our charts so that you can make more of an accurate prediction as to what specific areas of your life will be more influenced at this time. So I'll start by showing you each sign and the house that this new moon will be landing in for you. And as always, I recommend that you check your rising sign specifically. So you can pause to read. So to set the stage, as many of y'all already know, the new moon marks the beginning of a new lunar cycle. And as we see that the moon is at its lowest energetic and light point, where we see that none of the sun's light is reflected on its surface at this time, it's this cosmic reminder that just like we see in the moon, just like we see on Earth with its seasons as well as the moon's phases, there are points where there is low energy, where rest and being at a low energy is just as integral and necessary and a part of the process as being in action or being at its highest energetic point, like we see at the full moon. This is why during new moons you see many people leaning into rest, leaning into reflection, and specifically leaning into intention setting if they feel called to do so. Maybe you might have a few ideas, maybe they're New Year's ideas, or maybe they're ones that you've had for a while kind of swimming around and you're wondering when to initiate them, or maybe you're waiting for the perfect time to put pen to paper and take them from the ether, from the ideas down into the physical form. New moons can be a beautiful time for doing them, and specifically a new moon in Capricorn can be a very practical time to do that as well, and I'll dive into why. This is another reason why you see people doing new moon rituals, where they set aside some time to get grounded, present, and they get clear on any intentions that they might have for the upcoming lunar cycle that's around 28 days, or for the rest of the year, the season, or the month. This is why in the Auralign astrology planners, which are my creation, there are dedicated new moon ritual and journaling pages for every single month of 2024. Links will be in the bio if you're interested in that. But with that context in mind, when we see a new moon in the sign of Capricorn, it's the type of lunation that tends to make it a lot easier to create things like structure, consistency, and discipline. And we tend to feel a bit more of environmental support through these endeavors. Now, this is because Capricorn moons can tend to bring in very feminine, supportive, and grounding earth energy. And for further context behind why Capricorn new moons are so auspicious for these type of things, we know that Capricorn is ruled by the planet Saturn, which is the planet of responsibility, maturity, and order. And I find it to be no coincidence that we have this type of lunation in the dead of winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, because winter can be very harsh and has historically required our ancestors to be very structured and disciplined with their resources and work while they waited for the more hospitable spring season to arrive. So with that said, Capricorn new moons can tend to usher in a pretty hospitable time when it comes to setting goals, planning for the future, and just channeling any sort of grounded Earth Capricorn energy to tap into what we can feasibly do in a very practical and realistic way. And I really lean into that aspect of it being practical, feasible, and realistic. And that is one of the great strengths of Capricorns, is that they can be very grounded in reality in terms of what they can and can't do, in terms of what goals are realistic, what are doable, what are way beyond our capacity at this time? And even if they are, what are the steps to get to where we want to go? Versus being like, I want to do this thing that might take 10 years, but not creating actual steps, or questioning, who do I need to embody or become, or who do I need to ask questions for? How should I get resources? Those practical aspects are what can tend to come to us a lot easier under a Capricorn new moon. And again, as mentioned in my previous video and earlier, considering that we are in the dead of winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, pushing ourselves too hard to be in action and to actualize these goals isn't necessarily the healthiest idea, in my opinion. And now can be a powerful time to dream, set goals, and lay out our action plans, but only if we feel called to do so. For example, I feel so excited for this new year. I feel like I personally received so many great downloads and ideas for the year that I am really, really excited to dive into, but I'm taking my time to really lay things out, plan for sustainable success versus rushing into it and inevitably facing burnout, which for me personally, I know that that can be a reality if I don't take that time to do it. This really also speaks to the unrealistic aspects of New Year's resolutions, and that oftentimes what we end up doing is usually right after like the 25th of December, we have about 5 days, and within those 5 days, we think about all the things that we're lacking, all the things that we want to do or need to do. But we expect to start with certain things on January 1st, not necessarily like, oh, step one will be, in January, step two will be in February. Oftentimes it's rushed. And I think that that's a big reason why they inevitably fail, on top of the fact that we talked about in my previous video that we are in the dead of winter. And so if you don't feel called to be running around and doing all this productivity stuff, it's completely understandable. And it's likely a reflection of the fact that your body is in alignment with nature right now in the Northern Hemisphere. But I think that a big aspect of this Capricorn new moon, and something I just feel called to remind y'all of, is the power of planning, not rushing, not having all these expectations, but really setting ourselves up for success. I personally don't think that there's anything wrong with doing quite literally whatever it is that you want at any time of the year. So if you feel called to be in action right now, that's totally fine. I just want to emphasize that we shouldn't necessarily pressure ourselves to rapidly make a change, especially when we see, again, reflecting the moon's phases and nature seasons, we don't immediately snap from winter to spring. There is a steady progression to getting there. And in that same way, reflecting nature's wisdom, there is oftentimes a steady progression to whatever it is that we want to manifest. Okay, in terms of transits that are happening around the time of this Capricorn new moon, on January 1st, we saw that Mercury ended its retrograde. Now, while Mercury is still in its shadow phase, anyone who might have been feeling this retrograde a little bit more should expect to notice any forms of stagnation or resistance when it comes to things like communication, getting on the same page with people, traveling, or anything tech or socially related that has to do with mishaps. You should notice that it will be subsiding more so this month. So we made it. And next up, if you've been waiting for a time that feels kind of lucky to initiate something or to push towards the results that you've wanted through courage or some form of assertiveness, then Mars trining Jupiter at the time of this lunation definitely will be presenting a good opportunity. Now, what we usually see with this type of transit is there being a bit more luck around whatever we apply our willpower to. So on an internal level, we might feel more motivated to push harder to get what we want, whether that be trying harder in relationships or places like work. And we might experience there being a higher likelihood of success on an external level. Now, this is because we see that Mars, the planet of energy and assertiveness, who's also currently transiting through the very focused and goal-oriented sign of Capricorn, will be having a very complementary trine with Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion. Now, this transit can also tend to bring about satisfactory results or answers to questions or things that we might have been waiting to learn about. And because we see that both planets transiting Capricorn and Taurus, that being Jupiter transiting Taurus, are bringing about themes that will likely manifest within the realms of work or anything that feels like work, and anything connected to things like income, our home, our material possessions, and things related to those structures and routines around our lives. So overall, Mars trining Jupiter will definitely be a beneficial transit that can offer some expansive results that we might have been waiting for. And if we decide to initiate anything during this transit, there can definitely be a bit of Jupiter's luck tied to it down the line. Next up, moving right along, this next transit goes very well with the last, as it presents a very complementary dynamic, and you'll understand why. So this is because it's the type of transit that can tend to elicit a stronger sense of determination, energy, and endurance to go after the things that we desire. And that transit is Mars sextiling Saturn. Now I say this because, as we already know, Mars is the planet of energy, assertiveness, and courage. And it's having a very mutually supportive transit with Saturn, the planet of maturity, discipline, and restriction. Now, oftentimes, those areas of our lives tend to have a sort of negative association because they're usually tied to challenging situations that usually force us into becoming more mature or disciplined. But in the sextile transit with Mars, we're seeing Saturn's influences manifest more so as an inner calling for these things. There's really this sort of clarity that can tend to come to the collective under this type of transit, where we tend to better understand exactly what is required of us in order to access, achieve, or manifest whatever it is that we desire. So with all of that said, considering these transits of both Mars sextiling Saturn and Mars trining Jupiter, there's a really supportive luck in the air where we're seeing a higher likelihood of rewards and results for our disciplined and structured efforts towards that which we desire. These really are the type of transits, along with this Capricorn new moon, that can make it feel a bit easier to tap into our why behind what we're doing, why we're working. And tapping into that clarity around this time can be very beneficial when it comes to initiating things and starting on the right foot. And finally, at the time of this lunation, we'll see one of the strongest transits, as it involves 3 trining astral bodies that influence our creativity, open-mindedness, and inhibitions, really lowering enough for us to finally express our feelings. Now, this is thanks to the Sun, Moon, and Uranus trining each other at the time of this new moon. And before we dive into this transit, I want to remind everyone that Uranus is the planet of revolution, awakening, and change. So when we see it trining with the Sun and Moon, the 2 astral bodies that most closely are tied to how we navigate our inner and outer world, it can tend to initiate experiences of and inner callings for some sort of change in our lives and our thinking. Now, this can often show up or manifest as callings for more progressive or evolved approaches to situations or relationship dynamics that might be feeling mundane, or feeling like you've been approaching things from the same way and you've been getting the same results, which you might not be liking. So during this time, paying attention to and taking notes of anything that sparks inspiration, any ideas or calling towards evolving, can definitely lead to powerful karmic shifts that we might have been waiting for. And by the way, as always, if this video has resonated with you and you're enjoying it so far, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell on, because I make videos like these for every full and new moon. And they're energy readings for all of the top transits of the month. Now, in terms of a new moon ritual or intentions, you can definitely reflect on any areas of your life that Capricorn specifically tends to influence. So that can be areas of life that can benefit from more clarity, structure, routine, and a more grounded approach in general. Now, it can also be a beautiful time to celebrate how far you've come within those realms and reflect upon them. And finally, let's dive into these Capricorn new moon journal prompts. So what I will do is I will read them out. You will see them on the screen, and you'll be able to find them in the video description. When you see them appear on the screen, I invite you to read it, pause it, and when you're done, we'll come back. If you have your Auralign astrology planner or your 2024 astrology planner, you can fill this out for the first time in the year. Wow. I'm just really excited about that. Man, whether you are getting your planner again after having the 2023 one, or this is your first one, I'm so excited for us to journal together. So this is cool. How would you describe your relationship with self-discipline now compared to 5 years ago? When was the last time you felt courageous, and why? Is there any form of organization that you enjoy most? This could be organization in your home, schedule, work, sleep, hobbies, anything. And finally, moving into this new lunar cycle, do you have any new intentions or goals? All right, y'all, I hope that you enjoyed those journal prompts, and if it brought up anything for you that you feel called to share in any way, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. And before we go, I wanted to respond to some of the feedback that I got from the last video. It was not really feedback, but it was a few comments. I mentioned, in addition to thanking y'all for being an amazing community over the course of 2023, we had a little heart-to-heart in the last video. I had mentioned, I said thank you to my marketing manager, Alexys Cron, for all of her amazing work on, all the social media platforms other than here. In addition to here, all the shorts that you see on YouTube, clips on Instagram, TikTok, things like that, strategy in terms of like branding and marketing, which I'm not the most versed in for the Auralign planner, she helped me with. And I just wanted to give her another shout out because there were a few people who were interested in potentially working with her or, things like that. So I wanted to mention to y'all that Alexys Cron does freelance work as well as, the work that she does with me. And for any serious inquiries, I'm going to go ahead and leave her info in the description box of this video. So if you're interested in working with her, working with somebody who is a marketing manager that's not just proficient in general marketing, but customer service, content creation, and social media marketing in particular, those are all things that I love about her, and yeah, just wanted to share that. I also wanted to give a shout out to 2 YouTubers who did flip through videos of the 2024 Auralign Astrology Planner. So for anybody who's watching who's kind of curious about what's inside of the planner, I first want to give a shout out to Becoming Nyrel, that is her YouTube name. I want to thank Nyrel. I want to thank you personally, Nyrel, if you're watching this, for your awesome flip through video of the 2024 Auralign Astrology Planner. What's really cool about Becoming Nyrel, I checked out her channel and now I'm a subscriber, is that she does vlogs of her life in addition to flip through videos. And I really thought that her flip through was very constructive, not only because she went through all of the planner and she shows you all the features, but I really appreciated her take because she was somebody who had the planner in previous years. So she could give a really great take on the improvements, the expansion, and all those things. I also want to give a shout out and thank you to Jean Shelby Books. Thank you so much, Jean, for your flip through video. So Jean Shelby Books is a YouTube channel that not only does flip through, so she kindly reviewed the 2024 planner, but she also does videos for anybody who's interested in self-publishing books. And she shares a lot of information on the process of that, along with the editing process of writing. So I think that that's really awesome. And for any of y'all viewers who are interested in either the flip throughs or that aspect of her channel, be sure to check it out. And of course, I have to say a huge thank you to literally everyone who made Instagram Reels, stories, TikToks, shorts, reviewing the planners. I thank you so much. And I just want to remind y'all that we do have an affiliate program. And I just want to mention that for y'all if you are interested in that as well. But with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. And I invite you to comment 3 rock emojis, okay? Because this is the Capricorn new moon and we're bringing and reflecting on structure, and the most structured thing I can think of is a rock. I don't know, it's just kind of random. I've been doing this for so long now, I'm like, what's the new emoji we can do? But with all of that said, I will end this with my favorite quote, and that is, be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination. All right. I'll see you on the next one.